Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. Today we're going to do a debate on who is the best Spider-Man. So I won't be part of the thing because I haven't watched Andrew Garfield once. But the other three ladies will be doing their debate on based on different categories. So best suit, best Peter Parker portrayal, best Spider-Man portrayal, best action scenes, and best Spider-Man overall. So let us know in the comments which ones do you think, which Spider-Man is the best one for you and why. And make sure you guys like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and stay tuned for more videos. And yeah, let the battle commence. Over to you guys.
Right, I guess we can start with best suit. So for me, for Tom Holland, like he had a couple of different ones, but I'm gonna be honest, I never really liked any of them. Like they didn't look natural, but I'm gonna be honest, I liked the one that he created at the end of No Way Home, like that, the one that he had made, like that looks really good. Andrew Garfield's, his is very similar to Tobey Maguire's. He had a couple as well, but his suit in the second movie like stands out the most because that was the most comic accurate. And then Tobey Maguire's, well, he had a couple, and there's two that are quite notable, like the classic one, which is the one that he literally wore for the majority, and then the Venom one, or the symbiote suit. And you know, the classic it's a classic. It was just so good. And the webbing as well, like the fact that he could just shoot web out of, you know, his hands, wrist, that's the word. Wrist, yeah. So that was really cool. But the others had like sort of devices put in, so yeah. But for me at the end, it's a draw between Tobey and Andrews, but I think I'm gonna go with Tobey. Bryce?
Well, I'm a Tom Holland fan, and I must admit, his suit from Civil War to No Way Home is good, and I like the new technology they add on it. But I do miss the classic colors of like red and blue, because that what made Spider-Man stand up through the comics. So I agree with Emily that I like the end suit he wore in No Way Home. It was perfect. I do like Tobey's, it was great as well. But I feel like for Andrews, I feel like I just kind of lean it towards a little bit more. Like I like the long silver spider symbol on it. I thought that really stood out. And I don't know, I just feel like that. And I don't know, I like Tobey's, I really like Tobey's. I prefer Andrews a bit more, that's all.
Ellie?
Toby's, his was like our first kind of original Spider-Man suit. Very cool to see, but I did like to see how the others progressed it. Tom Holland, his end one, I like how they added all these new additions and stuff like that. It was cool to see the technology and everything advance and kind of advance with his Spider-Man as well. So that was really nice. But I think again, Andrew Garfield's one in the second film just hit it that little bit more, especially just the way they showed it off as well. It just all kind of fit nicely together, you know.
That's 2 to Andrew Garfield and 1 to Tobey Maguire. Right, best Peter Parker portrayal. So for Tom Holland, I mean, he fits more in line with the age range compared with the other actors, because you know they're quite a bit older. And I mean, he's a real teenager as well, so we see the issues he has with the relationships and also becoming older. Like we see that big development that he has to go through. And yep, he's smart too, which is a big Peter Parker thing. And we get to see him have that teenager sort of like awe sort of thing, like, you know, really like just taking the world as it is sort of thing and being starstruck, that's the word. And Andrew Garfield, for me, he was a cool Peter. He wasn't like he was smart, don't get me wrong, but he didn't have that nerd sort of feel to it. It sounds really rude, but it's hard to explain. But I feel like he's like what I would imagine a cool version of Peter Parker would be. And he seems to be doing socially okay as well. Like he's not like the other two who are a bit more, you know,
very
drawn back. Yeah. And we get to learn a lot more about his background, about his parents, and we also see sadness at losing Gwen. And I think there's definitely more of a romance as well in that one. And then Tobey Maguire, I mean, I feel like you could really tell that he was a nerd, and he's clumsy, he's a loner, and he's smart. He's really smart, and I think that's really well demonstrated. And he has a really good science relationship with Norman and Otto, and yeah, I mean, we just see that he has tons of struggles as well. Like we see the pizza scene which is like, he's trying to keep his job, but he's also trying to be Spider-Man, and we see that really well. We see that he sacrifices his job in the end to save those kids on the road, and and it just seems like no matter what he does, like he just can't get a break. So I feel like in that sense, he's like really relatable. And yeah, I don't know. We also saw darkness as well, because he tries to chase after his father's killer, and he attacks the Sandman, Harry, and humiliates MJ. So I feel like he's a really well developed Peter Parker. Like we get to see a lot to him. So I think for me, Tobey Maguire is the best. I feel like I'm being very biased in all of this. But yeah, I feel like we just got to see a really good look at Peter Parker. Like we got to see him as a nerd, and then we got to see him in like his really dark moments and stuff. And don't get me wrong, we got to see that with Tom Holland as well. But I feel like we got to see a lot more of a transition between the movies. So yeah. Grace?
Yeah, I must admit, Toby is he portrayed Peter Parker like really good. He looked cute and he looked a bit nerdy. One tiny problem for me is like when I look back on the film again, I just think like he looks a bit too older than to be a teenager. That's my issue. But he was still good. He was really good. Andrew, I do agree with you, Emily. Like he looks like a cool version of Peter Parker. Like he didn't look nerdy. To be honest, when I see him wearing a hoodie or wearing like a jacket, he looks like a guy who could be selling drugs to kids to base up. I'm just saying.
Oh my god!
Oh my
like that. I'm sorry, I'm
goodness.
not trying to be a stereotype, but that's what he looks like to me. But
I thought you were going to say skateboarder or something. I didn't.
Yeah.
a skateboarder as well. But like, if he was going down a bad way, he could after his uncle's death. But yeah, I do like how we get to see more of him struggling with Ben's death. Like he's kind of distancing himself from his aunt, and he's struggling with school and his new powers. I thought, yeah, this is pretty cool. This is kind of relatable as well, because we see, like, compared to Toby's, he was more, while he was upset, he was still got a good relationship with his aunt compared to Andrew's. Tom, okay, I'm gonna be really honest, and I'm not being biased, but he's the cutest Peter Parker I've seen. Like, he's got a cute face that makes him look adorable. He looks like a smart teen as well. Not so nerdy, but you could just tell he's got like a genius mind. And one also thing I like about him is that, like, compared to the other Peter Parkers, Tom's Peter actually has like got like a friend in like thing. Like you see the other Peters, they don't really have much friends. Like Toby's got like Harry. Andrew Peters doesn't seem like he's got much social life. Peters does like, well, Tom Holland's Peter does like build up Lego Star Wars, like Death Stars, and he does like nerds and other nerdy stuff. I feel like he's more social, and which is all right, because that's what we usually do. He's based in the 21st century, like updated 21st century. And while he does some like stupid things in his films, he shows that he takes responsibility, he learns his lessons, and that's more relatable because he's meant to be a kid and he looks like a young kid who makes mistakes. I also like to see his kind of like his development, his character development throughout his film. So in Homecoming, we see him nearly getting crushed by a building, and we see him struggling to get up, thinking he can't do it, but then he needs to convince himself that he can do it, that he's Spider-Man, that he's like, even without it, so he's still powerful, he's still strong. And I think that's good. I think that's like a good like Peter Parker that we kind of need to see, just to showcase that you don't need a suit to show that you're strong, that you are a hero. So I prefer the Tom Holland, not because I have a crush on the actor, it's because I think he portrays a good Peter Parker.
Helen?
Also, not because I'm simping for Tom Holland, but I think I have to agree with Grace on this one. I think he just portrays Peter in a way that Stan Lee wanted him portrayed. He's very much a kid at heart and impersonates him in a better way than the other two do. Like, don't get me wrong, the other two do a magnificent job, but I think Tom Holland is just quite literally a real life version of Peter Parker, and he shows that in the movies.
Okay, so that's 2 for Tom Holland and 1 for Tobey
Grace.
Maguire.
We're on a roll.
Yay! We're getting there, Ellie.
What? There's still more categories. Don't get your hopes up yet. All right. Best Spider-Man portrayal. So for me, Tom Holland, because like we were talking about, he's a teenager. So the others were a bit more older. So we got to see more childlike. I don't know, childlike's more, but we got to see a more younger feel to Spider-Man. Like, he wants to help people, and we really get that really clear. He's clumsy, he's funny, and he's brave, and we really get to see that really nice development from all the way from Civil War all the way to No Way Home. Like, how much he's grown just from the people that he's been surrounded with, but also the stuff that he's gone through. Then Andrew Garfield, I mean, his Peter cracks like tons of jokes, especially when fighting the villains. Like, I remember the scene with the Rhino. I think it was Rhino. There was quite a few jokes there, and he had some really great scenes. And I mean, we're gonna discuss action scenes in the next category. And for Tobey Maguire, we've gone from like quite a quiet Peter Parker, like someone who wasn't very social at all, to a very brave Spider-Man, which is what you want. Like, you get that really big difference between Peter Parker and Spider-Man. And he makes sacrifices, not saying that others haven't, but remember the train scene. And he also sees the good in the bad. Like, if you think about Harry and Otto, like, he managed to make Otto realize what was going on, and he managed to actually save New York. And he tried to reason with Harry as well and tried to stop them from fighting. And in the end, he was still a supportive friend. And I mean, there's tons of amazing swinging scenes. And I don't know, I think the only downfall was that there wasn't, because Spider-Man's supposed to be quite a jokey character, like Spider-Man, not Peter Parker. So I don't think we got enough of that Spidey wit. So I'm not really sure about this one, like who I'd pick. Like, I'm a bit mixed about this. Grace?
Yeah, I kind of see that point of view. So for Toby's, I kind of agree. I don't think he was quite funny as like Andrew's or Tom's. But I do find him quite like a good Spider-Man. I find him brave, he's strong, he's smart. I like him. I like him. Andrew, he's definitely funnier than the others, I think. I like how Andrew Spider-Man is more cooperative with like Gwen. Like, he asks her to like help him with like his mission sometimes. And I think he portrays a good Spider-Man as well. For Tom, he's clumsy, but he's also energetic. He never gives up on his tasks and missions. He's got that cuteness with a craziness, with humor and youth in all in one body, which is perfect. And while we see Toby and Andrew's Spider-Man's struggling to become a superhero once they got their powers, for Tom's, because he already got his powers, we see him actually trying to embrace the life as a superhero while trying to deal with a teenage life. So I think this is a new good portrayal of like what teenage Spider-Man would do. I feel like he's a more updated Spider-Man. Like, we see him like fighting dangerous villains like the Vulture, Mysterio, to having like 5 extra villains in No Way Home. And instead of like trying to think like, let's punish them, let's let them die, he decides to try to help them and give them a second chance. That's a very like empathetic and very good thing that Spider-Man could do, because that's what he does. He doesn't kill, he tries to help people, whether they're bad or not. So I'm going to go with the Tom Hollands.
Not surprised. Ellie?
While I love Tom Holland as both, I think Andrew does kind of beat him in this and beat him. Sorry. But I think he just resorts more to the cartoons. Sorry. The comics is what I was trying to say. I feel like his humor, the jokes that he pulls, all of that, it just resorts better to the comics and Spider-Man wise. Yeah. And just how his whole suit, his powers and everything kind of resort back to the comics a little bit better than the other two do as well. And yeah, I feel like I just Andrew just beats them. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's one for each. One for
Yeah.
Toby, one for Tom Holland, and one for Andrew.
Yeah.
Right. Best action scenes. Yeah, I feel like they all did really good because I mean they're all Marvel, so they have to have action scenes. If they didn't, then it would be just like what. So
Yeah.
Tom Holland, like the memorable ones for me were like the ship/the boat one and the drones on London Bridge. Andrew Garfield, the lizard in the sewers, and the Electro in Times Square. That one was really cool. Green Goblin in a clock tower. But for me, of course, as you can probably guess, Tobey Maguire's one stands out the most. I mean, I know you got to think about it in like, because there's been a lot more Tom Holland stuff that you've been able to see compared to the other two. So I feel like that might put Andrew and Toby at a disadvantage, and also the fact that visual effects have just they've dramatically changed. But for me, Tobey Maguire's like the train scene, like that scene's just it's so cool. And then Green Goblin, and then that final fight with Venom and Sandman, like that was. I know loads of people didn't like the third Spider-Man movie, but I liked it. So But yeah, for me, Toby's. I just feel like they were just really good. I really enjoyed it. The bank scene as well.
Oh.
In the second one, like that was really cool. But yeah, I think Toby's. I feel like I've just been biased in this whole thing, but
Yeah, God, honestly, and they have a different opinion.
But Grace is just basing it on looks.
Oh, come on.
Ooh.
I'm actually going to say I actually prefer the Tobey Maguire's action scenes. And I'll tell you why. I know it's a surprise, but here's the thing. Well, I do like Tom Holland's action scenes, like on the plane, London Bridge. They're all great, and visual effects absolutely have updated, and they've been brilliant. I just feel like when I think of Spider-Man, I think of like lots of fights things, like fighting against a villain, and I feel like I don't think we've seen a lot of that in the Tom Holland films besides No Way Home. Really, like we only see like Tom fighting against the Vulture at the very end, and then him fighting Mysterio only with his like illusions, but not actually him. Andrew's definitely he fights a lot with like some of the villains, definitely, but I kind of prefer Tobey Maguire's because I feel like they actually do like physical, they're more very like space wide, like they're always fighting here, fighting there. From like in the first film when he was fighting the Green Goblin, he was fighting on the bridge to like the abandoned house. It was everywhere, and that's what I kind of prefer. It was very I don't know, very dramatic, and I think I kind of prefer them. And it wasn't like short fights, they were quite like long fights as well. So I'm gonna go for Tobey Maguire's. Surprise.
Are we gonna add a 3?
Possibly. Toby is, I feel like, the first proper film that I watched that had like action fights in it and stuff like that. So it does hold a very dear place in my heart, because I feel like that probably was one of the first like Marvel films I'd watched, and one that I'd actually like properly enjoyed and paid attention to. But I am stuck on the fence between his and Tom Holland. I'm sorry, because in Tom Holland film, we get that interaction with the other Marvel characters that we don't have with the other two, if you know what I mean. So like seeing him with Iron Man, seeing him with Captain America, seeing him with all the other characters that we love, I feel like just added that little bit of bonus for me. So that is why I'm on the fence. I'm sorry.
It's okay. So it's 2 for Tobey Maguire and 1 on the fence. We'll call it that.
0.
So we're going to end with the best Spider-Man overall. So I think I've already made it pretty clear, apart from one where I was on the fence. I mean, I'm probably biased, I'm not going to lie, but I grew up watching Tobey Maguire play Spider-Man. Like those were the first Marvel. Okay. But those are the first Marvel movies I watched, and I don't know, maybe it's nostalgia too, but yeah, I think Tobey Maguire was the best. And Andrew Garfield, he had a great portrayal of Spider-Man, and the scene with Gwen, like I feel like when that scene where Gwen died, like that scene was just that was very good. Like that was a very good scene. Not good for Gwen, but but good for us to watch. And I guess Tom Holland, like, you know, he gave us more of an age-appropriate Spider-Man. So, you know, we got to see that transition from him being a teenager to a young adult and like making those tough choices at the end of No Way Home. But to me, I think Tobey Maguire was perfect. Like the first movie, we get to see him come to grips with his powers and him trying to defeat the Green Goblin while, like, you know, coming to terms with his uncle's death, which he feels responsible for. And then the second movie, we see how he finds it hard to keep his life in control because he wants to have MJ, but he also wants to be Spider-Man, so he has to make that tough choice. And then the third one, which I've already said loads of people didn't like, but I quite enjoyed it. We get to see that he also has a lot of issues in that movie as well. And he has to battle with
can't catch a break.
Yeah. And he has to make another choice there. And we get to see a different and darker Peter, which was really interesting. Sort of like, what would this character look like as dark version sort of thing, which actually I think Marvel should focus on. I feel like that'd be really cool, you know. But yeah, I think 100% Tobey Maguire is the best Spider-Man. He is the best Spider-Man. Yeah, Grace.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with my Tom Holland because I just think like I think of like Spider-Man now, like just like he's like a typical teenage kid dealing with his superhero life and his personal life, and he's trying to balance it. And while the other Spider-Mans haven't done that, I mean, they just show like they're all adults, and Andrew is going into adulthood as well. But I feel like for Tom, they're focusing more on like teenage stuff, and I feel like that's good because that's more relatable for teenagers as well, and just to show like how he's extra struggling as well, like trying to get into college without his superhero life interfering with his life or his friends, and he's trying to make everything right. And as flawless as he can be, he also shows like he's trying to make up for his mistakes, definitely. And I feel like that's a good view for like kids to look at. And I like his relationships with Ned and MJ, especially with MJ, like she's like a supportive girlfriend, like supporting him with like superheroes and everything. And I just like Tom Holland. I think he's the best Spider-Man overall.
Ellie, I'm gonna guess what yours is gonna be.
Yeah.
Is it Andrew Garfield by any chance?
Does it start with a T and ends with an M?
I'm gonna go through them. Okay. Amazing performance, nostalgic, brings back all my childhood. The start to my love for Marvel. He's up here, okay? In my rankings, he's through the roof. Love that man. Andrew Garfield, bringing it back again, reinforcing my love for Marvel. Up there, leads to the comics, okay? He's bringing it all back. He's introducing a new era to Spider-Man. Also, done an amazing job. But Tom Holland, that teeny tiny little bit above them both, because his is just different and leads into the lives of our other loved Marvel characters. And I think that is something that really influences my judgment, because we get to see him interacting with all the other characters, and it's just kind of like, okay, I'm loving this. And then the end film of, well, not the end film of his trilogy, because we're a bit more, but his end film to his trilogy, it just blew out the water. It just blew out the water. And I think having those two in it it was amazing. And it was his film that done that. So it's got to be Tom Holland. Also, Tom Holland, guys, come on. Am I simping? Maybe a little bit. But also, I do simp for Andrew Garfield, but I've chosen my simping for Tom Holland to go over this one, okay?
Good choice, Ellie.
Thank you.
All right, I think it's time for you guys to choose, the viewers. Who is the best Spider-Man? Like, is it what Ellie and Grace say? Is it Tom Holland, or is it Andrew Garfield? Or is it Tobey Maguire?
YouTube.
Tobey Maguire.
Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
That's who I was meant to say, and I got changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let us know in the comments who you think is the best Spider-Man, like I said in the intro. Yeah, so make sure you like and subscribe and stay tuned for more. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.